Good morning, honky tonks, and strap yourselves in because in this video I've got a bit of a corker. Boris Johnson, that mop headed maestro of mayhem, has come out swinging with a quote so gloriously unhinged it deserves its own exhibit in the Museum of Political Insults. He's called Keir Starmer, our esteemed Prime Minister, if you can call him that, and I quote, yeah. To take care, the orange ball chewing manacled gimp of Brussels. I mean, blimey, Boris, tell us how you really feel. It's the kind of line that makes you choke on your tea, laugh, and then wonder what on earth is going on in Westminster. But let's unpack this because beneath the carnival of words, there's a point worth chewing on. Unlike that orange ball, which frankly sounds like a health hazard. So first of all, let's give credit where it's due. Boris knows how to land a punch. Calling Starmer two-tier Keir it's a jab at the growing sense that this government's got one set of rules for the elites and certain demographics and another for the rest of us plebs. The kind of two-tier system where illegal migrants get ferried across the channel with a naval escort while pensioners are told to freeze because their winter fuel payments have been nicked, or where free speech is sacred unless you say something the woke brigade don't like, in which case it's off to the gulag with you. It's a phrase that sticks because it rings true to anyone who's been watching Starmer's Labour lurch from one hypocritical mess to another. But it's the second bit that's the real zinger here. The orange ball chewing monocled gimp of Brussels. Oh, Boris, you've outdone yourself, mate. For those not fluent in Johnsonian hyperbole, let me translate. He's saying Starmer's not just a pushover, he's practically chained to the EU's whims, grovelling at the feet of Brussels like some sort of submissive leather-clad bureaucrat with a mouthful of well, let's not dwell on the orange ball. The image is vivid enough to make your eyes water, but is there truth to it, or is it just Boris tossing verbal grenades from the sidelines? Let's start with a manacled gimp part. Boris, I can't get that image out of my head. I really can't. Anyway. Boris is clearly implying that Starmer's Labour is dragging us back into the EU's orbit, shackled to their rules and regulations, despite Brexit being the will of the people. And you know what? He's not wrong, is he? He really isn't. Starmer's been cozying up to Brussels faster than you can say customs union. There's talk of rejoining bits of the EU in all but name, trade deals, regulatory alignment, maybe even a nod to free movement, if they can sneak it past us. Posts on X are buzzing with people saying Labour's Brexit policy is surrender by stealth, and you can see why. Starmer's out there shaking hands with EU bigwigs promising reset relations, while the rest of us are still left wondering if we'll need a visa to visit Kent by 2030. Now, I voted for Brexit, not because I hate Europe, but because I believe in this country's right to make its own rules. So when I see Starmer bending over backwards to please Brussels, it does look like he's got a leash round his neck, doesn't it? And it's not a British one. The gimp bit, well, that's just Boris being Boris, but it paints a picture of a PM who's less a leader and more of a puppet dancing to the tune of an elected Eurocrats. And the orange ball? I haven't got a clue what that's about, but I'm guessing it's not a compliment. Maybe it's a metaphor for swallowing whatever nonsense the EU feeds him. Or maybe Boris just fancied a bit of surrealism. Either way, it's stuck in my head and I need a shower. But let's not get Boris off the hook entirely. This is the bloke who got Brexit done. Kind of. Well, no, not really. Brexit never happened. Let's face it. And that deal he got, well, that's got more holes than a Swiss cheese. He's not exactly St. George slaying the EU dragon. He's more like a guy who wounded it and then scarpered to write his memoirs. So when he calls Starmer out, it's a bit rich coming from a man who didn't exactly leave us with an ironclad border or a booming economy. Pot meets kettle. Still, the two-tier Keir label hits a nerve because it's not just about the EU. It's about a government that seems to have two sets of priorities, one for the connected, the globalists, the virtue signallers, and another for the rest of us who just want secure borders, affordable bills, and a country that doesn't apologise for existing. Look at the small boat crisis. Thousands crossing the channel illegally every day, and Starmer's response is to crack down on hate speech rather than smugglers, or the eco policies, net zero for thee, but private jets for me. It's two-tier governance, plain and simple. And Boris, for all his flaws, has nailed it with a phrase that's sharper than a butcher's knife. The real tragedy here is that Starmer doesn't seem to care. He's too busy playing the good boy in Brussels, hoping for a pat on the head from Ursula von der Leyen. Meanwhile, the British public, those of us who still believe in sovereignty, history, borders, traditions and common sense, are left shouting into the void. X is full of people calling this government a sellout, and you can feel the anger bubbling up. One post I saw puts it perfectly, and I quote, "Starmer's not leading Britain, he's auditioning for a job in Brussels," end quote. How can he argue with that? So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, Starmer's not literally chewing an orange ball, thank God for small mercies, but he's certainly acting like a man who's forgotten who he's supposed to serve. The manacled Gimp bit, well, that's a bit of Boris flair, but it's not far off when you see Labour's love affair with the EU. And two-tier care? That's the kind of nickname that sticks because it sums up a government that's more interested in global applause than British interests. Here's my advice to Keir Starmer, if you're watching, I doubt it. Unchain yourself from Brussels, spit out whatever you're chewing, and start governing for the people who elected you. And to Boris, keep the zingers coming. But maybe look in the mirror before you throw too many stones. As for the rest of us, let's keep calling out this two-tier nonsense, because if we don't, we'll all be manacled to someone else's agenda before long. And there you go, that's me done. If you've got something to say, leave a comment below, unless it's to defend orange balls, in which case, keep it to yourself. Until next time, stay sane and let's try to keep Britain British, shall we? I'm Paz49, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Roger Trout.